Are you tired of the same old pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on Powerslam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 4,000 hours of the best pro wrestling events from over 110 of the biggest names in the industry from over 15 countries around the globe. Get your free trial today at Powerslam.tv.
BWB, this is One Nation Radio. You better get it right. Rich Latta, James Boyd came to give them life. The Blackest Wrestling Podcast has come to kick all ass and drop it 6 feet if they kicking trash. Word, let me welcome y'all to something different. And if you dig it, man, you should let some friends listen. We be getting it in, that's on the regular, dude. Ravish and flow, but this shit rude. See, James don't rap, so I had to break it down. The whole network, man, we coming for the crown. Raps in the columns, I keep them both covered. Making the beats too, so the listeners can bump it. Hit us with the rating, yeah, I'm saying it's a 5. Before you hit it, talk, bob your head side to side. It's One Nation Radio, and this is the beginning. It's Rich, and I'm here with James. It's time to listen to One Nation.
We got to unleash the power of the pyramid.
This is Mike Sempervive from WrestlingObserver.com. Check me out on Wrestling Observer Live every day. And also check out your boys, Rich and James, on One Nation Radio.
This is Kenny Omega. We're listening to One Nation Radio. Check it out, guys. These guys know what's up. Big Kenny Omega fans, and that's all that counts to me. Goodbye and good night. Bang.
Welcome to the 7th annual One Nation Radio Awards. My name is Rich Latta, of course. I am your host of One Nation Radio, along here with my co-host James Boyd. James, what's going on, man?
Not too much, man. 7 years is a long-ass time in wrestling. Long-ass time.
Yeah, I think this is the longest I've ever consistently watched wrestling, even when I was younger. I was pretty much 1995 through about 2001-ish. You know, and having to fall off, you know, but, yeah, 7 years. We've been hosting awards for, WWE, and this year we're adding in NXT, and of course we got a little bit of New Japan in there, but we opened up and changed the format a little bit. We did some voting with the public, put out a Google form, and yes, it was very time-consuming adding up these votes and all that, but it all worked out for the best, and of course, we had, you guys give us the voting on a 3-2-1 scale, if you're not familiar with what that means. So first place was worth 3 points, second worth 2, third place worth 1 point. Of course, James and I will reveal our selections along the way and let you guys know, what we thought of the voting and all that. But overall, James, what'd you think about 2018?
Before I get to that, I just want to know how sophisticated our voting system was. It's real intricate. Anyway, yeah, I thought that the build towards WrestleMania, like this is a year of bookends, or the beginning of the year WrestleMania season from Royal Rumble into WrestleMania. It was good. And then you got WrestleMania, and it was not. The middle of the year, I was gone, but like I kept constant tabs, and the people that I trust and listen to your show and listen to other shows. It just it was and also with the Greatest Royal Rumble in place, like it was a lot that left to be deserved. A lot left to be desired. And then by the time we got to SummerSlam, like the pay-per-views turned around. Or you could make an argument about Money in the Bank, but Money in the Bank is hit and miss. But we really got more on the footing with SummerSlam for most of the matches on the card being being better. They still had like weird main events at SummerSlam and at Hell in a Cell, but I think really what kind of gave it a shot in the arm was honestly Evolution. Like Evolution for me, like for the main roster anyway, actually like made me actually happy for and made me like really like enjoy a big show for a while. And then Survivor Series was a good card, and then TLC was a great card. So I feel like this was a year of just like the bread was great, the meat was terrible. That's the best way to put it.
I think you said something similar to that last year as well.
yeah. I think I said the meat was bad, but the buns was excellent or some shit last year. Yeah.
There were nut-ass creative decisions and bad matches all around, and of course there was some quality, and that's what we're here to touch on today. We added in NXT this year for the first time because they got off to such a slow pace on the main roster. I was just so so unimpressed through, I want to say, at least half the year. And it was like a no-brainer to add in NXT with all the excellence they've had. But without further ado, let's get to it. We're going to start.
Look, real quick, before we get there, I'm glad that you decided to change that because, like, without NXT to help buoy this fucking show, it would not be as positive as we're going to be. So let's get into it.
Yeah. So we're going to start right at the top. The Ric Flair Wrestler of the Year Award. This encompasses the wrestling, primarily on pay-per-view, the talking, moving the culture, as I say, if you've listened to this show for any amount of time, and the overall number one performer between WWE and NXT. So, let's start with the nominees here, and of course we're going to let you know who received the least amount of points, as well as the 3, 2, and 1. And, if anyone else is a talking point or a surprise, we will mention them also. So, our nominees: Seth Rollins, Becky Lynch, Charlotte, AJ Styles, Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano, Ronda Rousey, and Daniel Bryan. So, we're going to start right at the bottom, and with 15 points only, Charlotte, which was shocking because I wrote a column that said Charlotte is the Wrestler of the Year candidate that no one was talking about, and apparently I was right because they didn't talk about her much here. I thought Charlotte had a much better year than she got represented in the voting here, and y'all just wasn't feeling her for whatever reason. Wonder why that was.
I think Becky is I think the Becky shit is actually like really gotten in people's minds to thinking that this one was not excellent this year. Like if this was still the main roster exclusively, then I mean she may have placed.
Yeah, so let's get to it. With 74 points in third place, Tommaso Ciampa. And with 84 points in second place, Johnny Gargano. And number one, with 158 points, a dominant performance in the voting, the number one Ric Flair Wrestler of the Year for 2018, the man, Becky Lynch. Not a shock at all.
Nope. I think... At what point do you say, like, in your mind, for you that is like she's number one? At what point was like she's clearly number one?
The Invasion. For you. The Invasion. She won it that night.
Yeah. I tend to agree. I remember going through the Observer leading into a few days before Survivor Series, and then you go through and you read it like she was the planned main event. Like her and Ronda was the planned main event for Survivor Series. I remember thinking like, I remember texting you, and I remember saying like, you know what, this feels like Boys in the Hood when Ricky gets killed, and then like at the end, and Ricky is dead, and then like, all of a sudden his mom gets the mail saying that he actually made it in the USC, so he didn't have to enlist an army. It's like she fucking did it. Like, yeah, so. Once you reach like that kind of level of despair because like you lost out on some match, you know that like this person is like operating a whole another level compared to her contemporary. So like it was a 4-month run, but that 4-month run was utterly dominant.
And I think you guys definitely took into consideration the moving the culture aspect because no one's even close to her in that regard, unless you want to make an argument for Ronda, and that would be like a different argument, not with fans. It would be like, impact on like the TV deal or something like that. But I don't, this is a fan voting award. I don't think you guys are gonna, lean that way. But Becky was, from the moment, she snapped at SummerSlam to pretty much current day, she's been the number one act in WWE, male or female. I'm proud to let her be the first woman to ever win the Ric Flair Wrestler of the Year award in our voting. We've been doing this for 7 years. We've had John Cena, we've had Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles, CM Punk in different years. I think we might have had Rollins sneak in there. Maybe. I'm not sure. I would have
maybe
to go
2015, back. I think. Yeah.
No, I think that was Cena. I think it was Cena.
It was one of them 2 and 15. Yeah.
But she wasn't in. And the trend in the last couple years in the voting has been whoever the in-ring performer of the year usually ended up wrestler of the year. We got a little bit different, off course this year. Nothing wrong with that. But yeah, Becky Lynch, number one, the Ric Flair wrestler of the year, and I think it's going to be a great day for Miss Lynch here. You are muted, James.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, just a real quick thing, because you actually mentioned that we let her. We ain't let shit. She did all her own. We just sit there. We just sit there in amazement.
The points. I counted up the points.
We just sit there in amazement. So yeah, look, Becky. Look, don't nobody like nobody lets Becky do shit. Becky does what she wants.
Yeah. So our next award, the Shawn Michaels In-Ring Performer of the Year, which is our best in-ring performer. Weighted towards pay-per-view performances, our nominees, Johnny Gargano, Ricochet, Pete Dunne, Seth Rollins, AJ Styles, Mustafa Ali, Daniel Bryan, and Charlotte. So, we're going to start with the bottom. With a whopping 12 points, Daniel Bryan, which was kind of a shock here. But maybe people didn't consider, his late work and then his solid TV work all throughout the year, and then coming on with back-to-back Match of the Year candidates at Survivor Series and TLC. Guess it wasn't enough.
Yeah, well, you know how it is when you're past your prime as a performer. So
yeah, So I take exception with how far he was back in those awards, but I guess, having to wrestle Big Cass and do Team Hell No and The Miz for 3/4 of the year, I guess that's not a recipe for people to regard you still and pay attention to what else you're doing.
Yeah, and also, he came, he didn't start, his starting date was WrestleMania, so he was behind the 8 ball compared to the others, so that definitely hurt him as well.
Yeah. So, in third place with 61 points, Ricochet. With 73 points. In second place, AJ Styles. In number one with 144 points, perhaps the greatest wrestler in WWE history if you look at it, or headed there if he keeps going at this pace, Johnny Gargano. This guy was a revelation on, NXT takeovers. He has assumed the nickname Johnny Takeover. He has a classic feud with Tommaso Ciampa. An excellent match with Aleister Black, which is a match of the year in almost any other normal year. And also the 5-star classic with Almas in the beginning of the year, which might be as far as a classic wrestling match, you probably aren't going to see much better in WWE history. What do you make of this, James? Because we had spoiler alert, we had a little bit of technical difficulty before this show, and the voting broke down in such a way where it was a battle for third place, and Ricochet ended up being the guy that came out on top between a group of him, Pete Dunne, who finished with 56, Seth Rollins with 58, and Mustafa Ali with 53. And quick note on the Ric Flair Wrestler of the Year award, Seth Rollins finished 5th, I believe, and he had pole position pretty much until SummerSlam, and then the game got switched on some ludicrous shit, and it was over for him, man.
Maybe, it brought the Shield back together, and it's been in retrospect, it turned out to be to the detriment of all three of them.
Who knew?
Not just them throwing Rollins and Dean to help buoy Roman like we thought. If Roman had stuck with this, I think all three of them would just be worse off for it now at this point.
Shit, crazy, man. It's just looking at these guys, it's been Ricochet with his matches against Velveteen Dream and his performance in War Games. Of course,
Adam Cole
match, and of course
the matches. the match with Dunne, which, like, you know, if not for the fuck finish, I feel like that match that might have been like the best worked match I've ever seen in WWE until the finish. And then also you throw in the match a couple weeks later. There's a 3-way to add in Cole in it too. Like, he had some great match. Like, for me, like, or I want to ask you, like, do you think we got it right by having Ricochet at 3 and behind AJ, just because of AJ having so many more matches?
So for me, if this was a pound for pound type thing, I think Ricochet is better. Unquestionably.
Same here. Same for this year. Yes, absolutely.
For this year, AJ did very well in the voting, and this wasn't a banner AJ Styles year. This was just like a little bit less than what we're used to with him. But I think some of this had to do with reputation, because I think the top 3 should have been Gargano. I think Charlotte, didn't really get the love that I think she should have gotten. In-ring performer of the year, I think maybe because her TV performances were relatively weak. She was great on pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And from there, you got, the Ricochet, Dunne, Rollins, Ali, quartet. And
yeah,
you would think Dunne might get another look, but, how it shakes out is how it shakes out. On that, I think the right guy ended up winning. So
yeah, that's true. But I think I had Dunne either second or third, because I
think you had him at third. Yep.
Yeah, like he just obviously he didn't have as many takeover matches as Ricochet, but like the stuff he did on TV was just, he was so good on TV that it was like he's probably
like, bro, his NXT UK main events are like must see. Anytime he wrestles one, it's like a minimum 4 stars at like average like 4.25, and then
you throw in like the UK tournament this year. It's like day 1 and day 2. Like, he was awesome on TV this year, or on the network, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. And so congratulations to Johnny Gargano. This is your guy, James, in-ring performer of the year.
Yeah, I want to say, I can't remember if it was after New Orleans or if it was after Philadelphia, where I said to you, like, yeah, man, like, at what point do we say that, like, he's the greatest, like, network era performer in NXT history, or he's the greatest takeover person in history? And, like, that was then. And now all of a sudden, like, he's turned heel and now he's calling himself Johnny Takeover just months later, as like even he recognized how great he is.
He recognizes the realness. So, our next award, the top New Japan wrestler. Primarily, we cover WWE and NXT, but I watch pretty much every like big show in New Japan and stay plugged into the storylines as much as I can. And of course, I'm not missing a match from 90% of this list, so maybe 95% of these guys. So, our nominees: the Best Bout Machine, Kenny Omega; the Rainmaker, Kazuchika Okada; the Aerial Assassin, Will Ospreay; the Golden Star, Kota Ibushi; Hiroshi Tanahashi; and the Stone Pitbull, Tomohiro Ishii; and Mr. Tranquilo himself, Tetsuya Naito. So, starting at the bottom, and I was hurt by seeing this voting, and all this makes me think is maybe you guys didn't see as much New Japan as I saw. But with 25 points, Tomohiro Ishii was our bottom man there.
Yeah, that is just, compared to Naito this year, no. And for the people that are like huge Naito fans, like, I feel like this was a year where like you're justified in feeling however you feel about how they've handled Naito, but at the same time,
he wasn't better than Tomohiro Ishii this year.
No, not at all. And Ishii is like one of those, like, I feel like every year that I've ever like cherry picked a lot of New Japan matches, that he's always like the unsung guy. And you think, like, who are the best like 6, 7, 8 guys in the company or whatever else? Like, every time you watch him, and it's like he's on that list. When he like, is he ever going to push? Fuck no, it just ain't gonna happen. That's fine. But he's always awesome, and he actually like wrestles damn near on par with, or actually on par with the top 4. So but like voting is voting.
Yep. So In third place with 79 points, the Rainmaker, Kazuchika Okada. In second place with 88 points, the Golden Star, Kota Ibushi. And in first place, a dominant victory with 173 points, the Best Bout Machine, Kenny Omega. Now, this is going to be over on Keeping It Strong Style, Omega cleaned up in all their awards. It's going to be a rude awakening for the people that are bending over backwards to not recognize what Kenny Omega accomplished this year and what he's meant to business, not only in Japan, but in the United States. This was like on the all-time list for a wrestler ever, and I think he may have been better last year.
Yeah, I was about to ask you that. Like, do you think it's a victim? It's kind of like with AJ in WWE now. He's like, it's a victim of his success because, like, you look at basically from the 2016 G1 and on.
Right. That's been when Omega become kind of my guy.
Right. Like, do you feel like, especially last year, like this was a step down from? This wasn't as good as last year. But then again, but at the same time, it's still the best. I mean, I guess maybe it's a thing of, yeah, you can. I guess you could say that because obviously, he's having higher output on, as far as like the matches getting higher ratings. But I don't know. It kind of felt like maybe it was just a victim of his excellence. Maybe same for Okada, but moving on to Okada, like Okada finished third, and I feel like Okada is not the same thing, but it's kind of similar to what happened with Seth, where you look at the first half of the year and that dude's on fire, and then you look at the second half of the year and it's not the same. Mm-hmm. So, and voting is where vote is at the end of the year. So like he's been cooled off for like, half of a year. So it doesn't feel the exact same thing. But like when they were at their apex, they were on point with the best of them. Yeah. At one point.
I'm shocked Will Ospreay didn't get more love here.
That's another one. That's another one. The same thing. Like
if you cut it off at like May or whatever, he's probably the wrestler of the year worldwide at that point.
Well, what if you cut it off at Dominion when he drops the belt to Hiromu?
You could even move it there. I think where you say with May is the best of the Super Juniors kind of changed everything because he wasn't as great in the Super Juniors.
That's true. That's true.
But I remember like Ospreay being just like he was as much as Matt Riddle was a workhorse over WrestleMania weekend, Will Ospreay was right there with him. This is fresh off of him with the neck deal that he had with Skrull, and he was just those Will Ospreay title defenses were electric.
Yes.
But yeah, on top of the mountain, the Best Bout Machine, Kenny Omega, 9 5-star matches or better. Obviously, the 7-star match, win the IWGP title with Okada in there, and the reunion of the Golden Lovers. You just have so many, like, he just hits you like, it's like a boxer. He's going to hit you with the jab of the Golden Lovers. Then he's going to come with, like, the 7-star match. And then he's going to come with being the top.
He's going to come with a 7-star match as if
that's the knockout.
Okay, I'm glad you specified as that. You made it sound like, that's like the 7-star match. Like, he does that all the time.
Yeah, that's easy work, But then he comes with like the Jericho feud. Then he comes with fighting against the Young Bucks. Then he comes with the G1 output. You can say and there's a lot of folks mad at Omega for whatever reason, and I'll leave it up to y'all to figure out what that is. But
I don't get it. Like, look, man. Like, if you like a certain style, cool, but I feel like you have to try to understand that like there's a million different ways to do this, and he's doing it a particular way, and a lot of the guys outside of WWE are doing it a particular way, and the way they're doing it, a lot of people that enjoy wrestling around the world, not just strictly WWE main roster, like, or people that were, that was the wrestling they grew up on, and that's the wrestling that they know, and they don't venture out too far. Like, most of the people that watch wrestling for the wrestling, they think that this is the top guy. So, like, I mean, you can disagree. Like, for example, like I'm not that huge of a Zack Sabre Jr. fan. I feel like his matches are him literally playing defense against cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like, there is a method to the madness, and I see it, and I enjoy it. I enjoy it at times, even though it's not necessarily my bag or whatever else. Like, I feel like there needs to be a certain accounting of that, as opposed to just like, it ain't for me, therefore it sucks. As opposed to, like, I just disagree with that. Like, like, don't get me wrong, there's a bunch of like stuff like CZW and death matches and stuff that I'm just like, nah, that's horseshit. Get the fuck out of here with that. But
Outlaw Mud Show.
Yeah, the Outlaw Mud Show shit or whatever else. But like, I find that to be like, I define that to be whack because like it's so dangerous for the wrestlers to do, and like you're gonna cause long-term harm to do that sort of stuff, as opposed to like whether or not I think it's actually like cool or tells a good story or whatever else. But nothing like the quote unquote normal, non-super dangerous stuff. Like, I think that Kenny's one of the best wrestlers I've ever seen, maybe the best wrestler I've ever seen. I don't know, but that's other people. They don't like the thing because of they want New Japan to be strictly New Japan, or don't want to expand, or whatever weird reason they don't want Kenny Omega or the Elite to prosper or whatever else. And it's like, okay, cool, but like I enjoy them. A lot of people also enjoy them, and like their popularity is actually helping wrestling around the world, and like maybe take it as their necessary evil as opposed to just sitting there hating.
Yeah. I couldn't have said it better myself, and I'm the Omega guy here. So, we'll move on to our next award, the Newcomer of the Year, and this is a main roster award here. So, you'll notice that there are only 4 nominees. Why? Because WWE has no idea what to do with most people from NXT. You want to try me? Ask Sanity about it. Ask Ember Moon about it. Who else
Jose.
came up? No Way Jose. Ask him about it.
Let's see who else. You mentioned AOP already.
Yep.
Like they had a few people that came up and it's like, yo, they've already have nothing for Andrade.
Even these people, these people were like, man, we have to fill out this voting somehow. So we'll just put there are only really 2 candidates here, but
yeah, really,
yeah. And so we're gonna go through the list here. Andrade Cien Almas, Ronda Rousey, Drew McIntyre, and the AOP, who somehow received one single first place vote. I don't know who you are. I'll have to go back through and see this, but I may send you an email asking for an explanation on that.
Okay, so I don't know if we disclosed it to the people, but like we originally did the first 40 minutes of this show, and then we had to redo it because we had audio issues. At the time when you mentioned that the AOP got a first place vote, I'm going to say is that what I said then. Dave Finishell, you need to stop playing on our goddamn phones and email. Okay? Stop this. You need to stop playing games. So I don't know if it's Finishell or not, but if there's anybody that I know that had voted, like that's the first person I'm collaring. And after that, probably Caleb. So,
oh my God. Yeah, man. So let's get to the voting. Obviously the last place, AOP with 19 total points. In third place, Andrade Cien Almas. So I guess losing to all the top guys while not in a storyline with them isn't the way, in these streets. So Andrade
Cien Almas is like they're treating him like a kid in the 60s. He's literally there to be seen and not heard.
Oh man. Then we had Drew McIntyre with 167 points in second place. That's a tough one. And then in first place, Ronda Rousey with 201 points, breaking the first 200 barrier in this. Obviously, the less points available or less, nominees in that category, but nevertheless, Ronda Rousey on top with an excellent rookie year on the main roster, being a catalyst for the TV deal, delivering in all her big time matches, if you remove the Alexa Bliss ones, and being something just totally different and working as a babyface. If you were to ask me if she worked as a babyface this year, yes or no, I would have to say yes. Overall, it worked, even though I think she's walking on thin ice at almost every moment here. But if you just look at her being so new to wrestling, her having immense pressure on her, she was just a revelation and then her presence, I don't know if it was the match that lit the fire for the rest of this thing, but all these other women came to play. this year, and I think you can credit Ronda Rousey with a lot of that.
Yeah. Like it can. Like, granted, Becky went from being over the 10 weeks from Survivor Series, or sorry, from SummerSlam to Evolution. Like, she definitely raised her profile to be a main eventer. But once they transition from that to like literally the minutes after they go off air on Evolution, and then you see the video of she shows up, she's like, "Hey, champ," and it says, "I'll be seeing you soon," knowing like that you're going to be champion versus champion at Survivor Series, like. It just took it to another level, and then it raised. That became like this. This should be the WrestleMania main. This feels like a WrestleMania main event, and then now, due to fortunate/unfortunate situations, or circumstance, like this could be the WrestleMania main event, and that's absolutely is something that like would not have happened without Ronda Rousey decided to slump with us by being a pro wrestler. So like she, Her being there has definitely raised the division. I honestly, and we go back to even January when she first showed up. Do you think we even have a Royal Rumble if not for for that to be her coming out to do? I wonder.
I think they get a Royal Rumble. I don't think in main events or anything without
her.
Oh,
absolutely,
so
absolutely.
It'll be interesting to see if, like where it's positioned this year and everything on the card there. But congratulations, Ronda Rousey, the newcomer of the year in WWE on the main roster. And I actually, James, now I always thought that this was some type of argument that the FDS would make, like that there are people, that was a straw man thing that didn't exist. That they would say there are people out there that think Ronda Rousey should have went to NXT. I never believed it. Then yesterday, I came across a tweet that said Ronda Rousey should have went to NXT. That's absurd. So
no, you gotta get the fuck out of here.
I literally saw it yesterday with my own two eyes, and I thought that was like a myth, and some people would make up just to yell at the air. So one thing I'll give you that one, FDS. I'm sorry, but everything else y'all got to learn today. So the next award, the Dusty Rhodes Promo Cutter of the Year Award. So we have 5 nominees here: Samoa Joe, Daniel Bryan, The Miz, The Man Becky Lynch, and Tommaso Ciampa. So we will start with the lowest votes getter, Daniel Bryan, with 68 points here. I don't know if these people didn't watch or very weird that he was the last place vote getter here.
Yeah, like Miz has been doing like this was not the year for Miz. Compared to last year or even 2 years ago. So I find that's one I find weird. Another thing that I'm kind of weird on is like the Daniel Bryan thing, because like Daniel Bryan comes back and cuts, maybe the best promo I ever heard on his return. Like, I don't know. For me, if you ask me, like, best promos I've ever heard, like, 2 of the top 10 are like Daniel Bryan's retirement and his return.
Yes.
And then you throw in, like, since he's turned heel, what he's been doing, like, on a weekly basis, like, yeah, that dude is absolutely, that dude right now, as of this moment, is the best promo in the company. Now, obviously, it's a really short amount of time, but you figured that, like,
had this larger sample size of doing this the whole year.
Yeah,
I think this is like up for grabs here, and I think he was legitimately awesome because going into SummerSlam, he did a lot of mic work with the Miz to heat that shit up, and then it just wasn't there on game day apparently with the crowd. But in the moment, people were losing their minds over the stuff he was saying. Obviously, James brought up the return promo. I don't know, whatever. But in third place here, Tommaso Ciampa with 84 points. In second place, Samoa Joe with 107. And number 1 with 156 points, who else? The Man, Becky Lynch. Now, as I mentioned before, like, she was a Wrestler of the Year and she got Promo Cutter of the Year. Sometimes it's linked to the best in-ring performer. In crazy years, we get all 3. This year, we only got 2, but Becky was, pretty much from the moment that she started to go upside Charlotte's head, she came out here and backed it up on the mic every single week. She was NBA Jam on fire, and it was like when Becky had the promo, it was like Larry Bird walking off with the finger. Like you already knew the shit was gonna be fire. So it was funny. It was like Samoa Joe was excellent.
Yes.
A lot of his words ended up ringing hollow, but Becky Lynch followed through on all the things that she was, saying essentially. And Ciampa was excellent as well. I believe he was to NXT promo-wise what Gargano was wrestling-wise. So
yeah. I think also with Dude, his promos were, especially after you won the title, his words were very nuanced and thoughtful, and I don't know if necessarily that made people it was great work done, but I don't know if people necessarily thought that this dude is a better talker than Samoa Joe. Mm-hmm. So I think that kind of what held him back, because he was doing more character work while Joe was just coming out here throwing bombs on people like Jeff Hardy, poor Jeff Hardy and poor AJ Styles.
Yeah. Wendy.
Yeah.
But
this is, look, I'm sorry, it got out of hand. This isn't actually an apology. It's an intervention, Jeff. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Dude, that just was so funny.
Yes. But yeah, Becky was a once in a lifetime run. Let's just say that. And it almost makes you wonder if they took the chains off more people, what could happen.
Yes, you look at the back and the promo stuff makes you think of the people that they get opportunity, like Sami Zayn in particular. They get opportunity, and every time they get opportunity to talk or to wrestle in a match with any type of profile, knock out the park. And then it's thanks, and it's time to go back into the shelf. And you think of all the talented people that you saw in NXT. And you thought almost main roster booking is almost gaslighting you into forgetting how awesome these people were, whether it's Sasha or whoever else. And then you remember it's no, we're not crazy. We've seen this. It's on tape, and these people did good work. It's there's way too. They just have way too many fucking people to actually make all these people stars at the same time, and also they don't know how to book. So it's a double whammy. And that's what you end up with. So maybe 3, 4, 5 years from now, Sasha gets her run, Sammy gets her run. They can fix Kevin Owens after making him a comedy geek for the last 2 years. So we've seen it. It exists, right? So in the Becky thing, is one thing that makes me hopeful is they're hoarding a lot of talent, but eventually these contracts don't last forever, and these people are going to be able to go somewhere eventually, and or actually get a spotlight in the company, and they're going to get their chance. They're going to get their legitimate due at some point. Otherwise, we're going to be sitting here talking 5, 10, 15 years from now. Maybe not on this show. I don't know if we could be doing this show another 5 to 50 years, but we're going to be talking about so and so and how underutilized they were. How we a lot of us were talking about Dynamite Kid or the Cruiserweights back in the day. In the 90s in WCW about how talented they were, and eventually they actually got a shot, and it proved how good they were.
Yeah. So the Miss Elizabeth Woman of the Year award. So, y'all already know what it is, but we gonna read off the names anyway. Ronda Rousey.
Okay, so you talked about you talked about Larry Bird and the 3-point shooting contest. I think the last shot you walked off with the finger. This is basically the same thing with the same 3-point shooting contest. Where he's
much worse.
Who's coming in second?
Yes. So we got Ronda Rousey, Kairi Sane, Charlotte, Becky Lynch, Shayna Baszler, and Asuka. So, the person with the last place vote with 29 points, Asuka. Apparently, putting her on ice for 8 months was not the way, and it showed in the voting. Regardless of her Royal Rumble win and title victory, and her excellent TV work leading up to WrestleMania, there's just a huge block of time that she couldn't overcome.
Yeah, her run is very indicative of the year for WWE and also the women, where the beginning and the build is strong, and then she actually has the best match at WrestleMania, singles match at WrestleMania, and then there's not much, and then by the time we get towards the end of the year, they give her another shot, and what do you know, she's still hot because people respect her.
Yep. So In third place with 74 points, Charlotte. In second place with 82 points, Ronda Rousey. In number one with a whopping 216 points, receiving 65 first place votes with no one else getting more than 5, the man, Becky Lynch.
Wow. So
you remember when Ronda Rousey told that guy in the audience, like you're not a man. Like, apparently y'all ain't women on this category, because this was Becky Lynch just dominating out here.
Okay. Yeah. So. Yeah, we talked about this on the first run of this, and I mentioned this to you. And as quiet as kept, like, they actually built Becky, whether by hook or by crook or by on purpose or total accident. She's only been pinned one time since like May, or no, I'm sorry, either May or June. So. Like, she got pinned at SummerSlam, and, you know, other than that, like, she keeps winning and beating people and talking shit and kicking ass, and they, like, it's almost a shot that she got over, right? So, and they always had plans for her to do something cool next. So, I guess my question for you would be, how do you feel about the Ronda versus Charlotte voting?
So, looking at what Ronda did against Charlotte, I've had Charlotte above her. I don't think they got it right there. But, you know, I can't be mad at it, because Rousey, like, delivered in all her spots consistently at one level. I think Charlotte was at a point where she put in some stuff that was just awful. And that, you know, with the Carmella stuff. And then, but her peaks were higher. And I always value peaks, you know. And
same here.
You know, somebody had to wrestle Becky. And it was Charlotte. And I don't think someone else could have played that role being rebelled against better. And
same here. Like, right now, if you ask me, outside of Asuka right now, like, who is the best worker for the WWE style right now in the women's division? It's Charlotte. Like, ever since Hell in a Cell, like, these matches that she's having on pay-per-view are just like, you actually feel the actual, like, struggle of a match. It's none of these, like, most of these matches, you know, they're all polished and and they get into, like, chain wrestling and it's really slick and everything else, and, like, her matches look like real struggles. Like, that Ronda match was like a complete struggle of this tall Amazon of a woman trying to wrestle this judoka, and, you know, it was awesome. I just love where she's become as a wrestler, as far as, like, the other aspects outside of the physical, like the acting, showing you portraying how, like, physical things are and how tough things are and how desperate you are at the end of matches. Like, that's like, we're going to get to it, but, like, my match of the year is, like, her and Becky basically just literally desperate to hope that the other person will just not get up at 10. Just stay down.
So, moving on to our next award, the Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin Feud of the Year. Our nominees: Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa, Mustafa Ali versus Buddy Murphy, Mustache Mountain versus Undisputed Era, Charlotte versus Becky Lynch, Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles, and Kairi Sane versus Shayna Baszler. So, coming in at the last place with 25 points, Kairi Sane and Shayna Baszler. They received one first place vote. Somebody got to be last.
Yeah. These are all excellent.
Yeah.
All of them.
So, in third place with 49 points, Mustache Mountain versus the Undisputed Era. In second place with 147 points, Charlotte versus Becky Lynch. And in first place with 197 points, a whopping 51 first place votes, Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa in your Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin Feud of the Year. I think for me, I voted number one for Mustache Mountain versus Undisputed Era. Those three matches, I think it didn't have enough in the story, but I'm more about the wrestling anyway. Those three matches were just insane. Like, excellence. Like, on every level. Like, 5-star matches, 4 3/4 matches. Just crazy with those guys.
I mean, it's great. It's a great feud. And I think their second match, the one on TV, that their best match, how ridiculously hot that crowd was, the acting done by Seven to sell his bum knee, the agony that you see from everybody, like the work that Roddy and Kyle are doing. Like, I absolutely see why you feel that way. Like, there were no quote unquote right answers for this, because all these things, everything we elected, I felt like was excellent. But it was so short that I don't think people were able to grasp. Like it was a flash.
I don't know if people know what they saw.
What it felt like? It felt like almost like the AJ Styles and it was better, but I'm saying it felt almost like the AJ Styles and Roman Reigns feud. Where it's like we only got 2 matches out of that. Mm-hmm. It was awesome, but we only got 2 matches of it.
Mm-hmm. And number 1, Gargano and Ciampa. Like, some people say it's a little bit too heavy on the drama side. Apparently, our voters didn't agree.
I mean, it got to that point by the time we had the third one, and also like you can also ding it for like the wrong person won by the end of the fucking thing, and like they made John like a plate of piss by the end of it. Like he loses 2 matches.
Dude in handcuffs, like
twice.
Yeah,
twice, Rich.
Yeah,
twice.
Yeah,
like and in the process, after being the top babyface in the brand, they turned the top babyface in the brand heel with no replacement.
Yeah. Like
if this was an actual promotion instead of developmental, they would have hemorrhaged money.
Yeah, they're not worried about making money in NXT. So
yeah, they're just out here telling stories. And granted, like I love where he is as a heel. I love like the story where it's like, look, Johnny is lost. He's a lost soul, and basically Alistair is supposed to get revengeance and also like maybe like kick his face, maybe kick his brain into gear, make him start making sense again because he's lost. But like that, this would have not, if this was supposed to be about making money, they made a bad decision. But yeah, like this whole entire thing is like almost like the end all and be all of the entire year in NXT, where Johnny goes out there and has maybe the best match in WWE history in Philadelphia, and this asshole comes out and whacks him across the back. Then it goes to New Orleans, and they have maybe the greatest match in the company history. And then we have 2 other matches that are also excellent, but just don't match up with what they did in the first match because it was so incredible. And I think they probably needed more space between it. They decided just to run it all back to back.
And more variance.
Yeah, like, because they had 3 no rules matches. It's like, okay, like, when are we, and we know how good they both are. Like, they can go out there and have a real wrestling match, and they decided to, like, basically start with the blow-off match and then work backwards and become more civilized as the feud progressed, which is kind of like, kind of threw people off. So,
Charlotte and Becky on the main roster was like, it was a battle for the soul of like the fans, essentially. And Charlotte wasn't necessarily a representative like of not being amongst the fans, but it was like, yo, she is the person that has stood in the way of this woman that we love, like all this time.
And every other woman that we've loved.
Yeah. And it was like somebody got whooped Debo's ass. Like, and Becky not only like whooped Debo's ass, she became Debo.
Like when is basically like, okay, so Charlotte has been on the main roster since the summer of 2015. She's won every single fucking feud she's been in. Like, when is somebody going to actually stop this, or basically stop her at one point or whatever else, or actually like elevate themselves to actually be in her class? And they gave it to us, and they also got the best performances of Charlotte's career out of it too. And so for me, it was just it felt like while Becky was taking off and reached this level, that like people shouldn't lose sight of the fact that like Charlotte also, this is one of the rare one-sided feuds where like both people actually elevated their stock. Like I remember when they first came into when we first started seeing Charlotte on NXT, and we both talked about like, bro, like could her and Sasha like like become like main eventers on the main roster? Could they be like the best ever? That sort of talk. And then like, you know, because of the way they protected Charlotte, she was getting there, or they kept her protected to where she was like, she was the ace, clearly the ace. It was undisputed who was the ace in this. And then like somebody came for her, and it actually elevated everything along with Ronda. Like these three women have put this whole fucking thing on their back to this point. And like, I mean, even not just from a critical perspective, also from like a casual fan perspective. Like, I don't know how you watch your SmackDown television over the last 4 months and they'll come across thinking like, this is the best stuff they're doing.
Right.
Because it was.
So congratulations to Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa winning the Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin feud of the year.
Yep.
And up next.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Main roster only, right? Where would you put this? Where would you have put Becky and Charlotte as far as like a feud over like the 7 years we've been watching this? Like, what would you put in front of it?
I think you got to think about Daniel Bryan and the Authority, John Cena and CM Punk. A lot of stuff might be like slipping my mind right now.
Seth Dean before this year. Will you put that in front of it or behind it?
I would actually probably put this on par with that.
Okay.
But yeah, John Cena, CM Punk,
AJ
and Cena was awesome as well. Zayn and Owens.
Yeah. They did it too much. Yeah. Like at his peak. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is one of those. Like, so.
Strowman,
Roman. Yep. But yeah, up next, we've got the Macho Man Randy Savage Best Dressed Ring Gear Award. Now, this one's going to piss me off. I can tell already. But let's get to the nominees. Your nominees, Sasha Banks, The Velveteen Dream, Mustafa Ali, Johnny Gargano, Daniel Bryan, Alicia Fox, Ricochet, Tony Nese, and The New Day. Now, James, with 5 points total, Daniel Bryan. What? I don't know if these people didn't look at all the different patterns that this man rolled out with. He switched his color scheme at least 3 times.
The Phoenix gear alone was so incredible that I don't know what y'all are talking about. I'm sorry. Like, this is like, as somebody that thought that Daniel Bryan, and like when he was still in his prime, had some of the best gear in the company, along with like CM Punk and like Jericho, when Jericho was doing the Y2K or the 2010, 13 or 2012, 13 stuff, like his, the Daniel Bryan anarchist stuff was like incredible. Like, and I thought this Phoenix thing was even better. And then when you threw out like the old school Seahawks color scheme from the 80s and 90s, like I thought like it was incredible.
And then when he turned, like
apparently y'all thought different.
And when he turned, he like went the dark version of all that. Like, I think y'all missed the boat on this. Like, and Alicia Fox really didn't get a lot of love. Neither did Tony Nese.
Which is ridiculous. I mean, this is a thing where like there were a bunch of people that all like. I think this is like people playing favorites.
Yeah. So with 48 points in third place, Sasha Banks. With 64 points in second place, The New Day. And number one, with 216 points, with 62 first place votes, The Velveteen Dream. I just want to say, the 1, 2, 3 is us, but that level of dominance, this is injustice. Sasha Banks was clearly the number one dressed person all throughout the year. Originality, like how good that originality looked, and just literally year after year after year of doing this.
I think the only thing that might like hurt her is a lot of stuff you see her in is stuff that you've seen from prior years. Maybe that's what it is, and the fact that like you only see Velveteen you've probably seen in 16 matches on NXT this year.
Yeah.
So like he's wearing something different, like at takeovers or whatever else. But my main thing is like the stuff he wore was not stuff that is like it's cool and is referential, but at the same time it's like it's a lot of it's like the Rick Rude spray paint, a gimmick on there. There's somebody else's stuff or whatever. I just don't.
Would you actually want to like wear that? Like if you were a wrestler, would you want to wear that if that was your gimmick? Or excuse me, if that wasn't your gimmick?
Like airbrushing people, not really. Like that shit was like,
and a lot of this stuff
airbrushing
like,
was shit in the '90s, and then it got a run back like during like the Missy Elliott like early 2000 shit, and then like after that it kind of was done. But like really like that was some shit that was done by Rick Rude 30 years ago.
Let's keep it a buck. A lot of this stuff was just tribute stuff. Like that's what it was.
The Hogan dressing like fucking Hollywood Hogan.
Yeah, like, okay. I think Ricochet should have did better here. I think Alicia should have did better. I definitely think Sasha should have probably been number one. And the New Day was excellent.
I'm really surprised at the New Day thing because like the New Day stuff is like, well, there's three of them, so it's almost like cheating because because it's three of them.
Yeah.
And also like they've kind of have done like more.
Well, the
stuff is different,
stuff
but like
was raw. I like
all
that.
their shit is all of it's raw, but all the shit has been has been pancake related, and it's been going on for like over a year now.
Yeah, interesting voting on this one. I thought y'all would show a little bit more love here for around the board, but Velveteen Dream was what y'all said. So up next, a new award. The Put 'em in a Coffin Award. So this is the wrestler that needs to start completely over or go away. And I'm upset at myself that I left someone off of this. Two people, actually. Actually, one. Shane McMahon should have been on this. And I don't know why I didn't think of him, but he should have been on this. So Shane,
well, you can make an argument that like virtually every single part-timer should be on there.
Yeah. So let's get to it. Baron Corbin, Mojo Rawley, Bobby Roode, The Iconics, Bray Wyatt, Kona Reeves, and The Undertaker. So, starting at the bottom with 16 points, The Iconics. And they got one single first place, or excuse me, no, I take that back. They, 16 points, they were at the bottom. So apparently people like The Iconics, James.
Dude, every time they've been on TV, they've been terrible. Especially like their gimmick is to do bad comedy.
Yeah.
And be lame. Their gimmick is to be lame heels. Not unlikable heels, lame heels.
So the battle for number 2 and 3 in this award was separated by one single point. One voting point. So one voter swung this. So no one never think your vote doesn't matter here. So with 93 points, Mojo Rawley. With 94 points in second, Baron Corbin. In number 1 with 139 points, dong, The Undertaker. It's time to go. Yeah,
Undertaker had the two worst high-profile matches of the year on the main roster between Super Showdown and You Gotta Do It, I Can't Do It. I can't get my voice that low.
Crown Jewel.
There you go. So, like, both of those matches, like, made you know that, like, he shouldn't be wrestling anymore. He should be done. So, like, it took that to save Baron Corbin from basically, essentially, bum of the year.
And there's no way Mojo should be that close to Baron.
Nope.
Mojo
he ain't on TV.
Yeah, Mojo's not on TV for one. Maybe it's like
he's not taking the rating.
Maybe people think he needs to go away and like rebuild himself or like leave the company.
As opposed to Baron Corbin taking the rating every single week.
I don't know how that's that close because Mojo Rawley has proved himself to be an innovator. Like they stole the cell phone concept from him, and it's their fault they didn't do it as well as him because that guy was killing it. Like on Twitter, just like it's something he would do, and I think there's something there with him. He's limited, but I think there's something there with him. If you wanted me to bet on anybody that's not The Undertaker for like the next, like if this was like equal, right? I would take either Bray Wyatt or Mojo Rawley on this list. But yeah, I tend to agree because they're both of them as talkers are like dynamic enough to actually like get somewhere. Like Bray Wyatt, you just gotta have him stop talking about fucking nonsense, but. Obviously, you've seen that man talk. Anybody that like, even if you like just jaded and over his shit, like you still know that dude's a very talented, compelling talker. You just have to channel it in a different way from what they've done in the past. So yeah, I agree with you. So The Undertaker, it's time to go, playa. Like showing up at WrestleMania for the check, rolling out, not showing up for builds, and then showing up randomly and being announced in all these places. The way they're handling this character is ridiculous at this point, and it's been time for a while.
Rich,
Yeah.
he squashed John Cena so that he can put over Triple H this year.
Yes.
What?
I'll never understand it. I will never understand it. And Cena ain't been right since. Like, say what you want. Going into WrestleMania, this was about John Cena. This entire WrestleMania build-up. He made everything fall in place. And then he got to The Undertaker. He lost Nikki Bella. He all of a sudden started growing his hair all crazy. He looks washed now. So I don't know what the fuck happened to John after this. But up next, our next award, the NXT Performer of the Year. So our nominees, Johnny Gargano, Ricochet, Tommaso Ciampa, The Velveteen Dream, Undisputed Era, Shayna Baszler, Aleister Black, and Pete Dunne. So, starting at the bottom, with 18 points, Shayna Baszler. And then our top three, with 67 points, The Undisputed Era. With 94 points, Tommaso Ciampa. And number one, your NXT Performer of the Year, with 142 points, Johnny Gargano. Keeping in line with the rest of the voting, not really shocked here. I am shocked that Ricochet only got 26 points. He's been the North American champion half the year. It's been electric. It just didn't translate to the voting for some reason.
Maybe it's the fact that he's not a great promo. Maybe that's what it is.
Maybe. And you know, all the homeboys and all that stuff.
Oh God, I had forgot about the homeboys. So you just brought it up. Come on, man. We were past that. We ain't heard a homeboy in months.
Yeah. So Velveteen Dream just missed out on a third place tie with Undisputed Era. They were 3 points behind. Other voters, Pete Dunne 33, Aleister Black 39. So you guys knew what you wanted in this one. So it was Johnny Gargano. What else can we say about Johnny that we haven't said yet?
I'm sure if I had enough time, we were pressed for time, I could come up with more. Yeah, I think that if you look through it, I feel like, you know, all these people were. I felt like there'd be more variety, except for the top spot. But I get it. I kind of like. You look back at like Alistair's year, and it's like, I mean, granted, they screwed him when they gave him that the freaking Lars match, but outside of that, like, he was as good as everybody. He was as good as he was basically as good as Ricochet. Said they didn't give him a Lars.
Yeah. Up next, the most disappointing, biggest letdown award. The nominees: WrestleMania 34. The AJ versus Shinsuke Nakamura feud. In quotations, Sasha versus Bayley. Daniel Bryan's follow-up to his return. The sacrifices of both tag team divisions. The Seth Rollins versus Dean Ambrose feud. And cutting Braun Strowman off repeatedly over and over despite his momentum. Starting at the bottom. With 39 points, Daniel Bryan's follow-up to his return. So apparently, people didn't see what was wrong with it, James.
Well, I think what happened is the fact he turned it around, so people, like, it doesn't hurt.
Apparently, WWE did a good job of making people forget what the fuck happened before that.
No, well, I mean, but the thing is, like, he's been doing so well the last 2 months that it's like, okay, like, granted, they did nothing. It's almost like the Oscar thing. Like, they did nothing with this person for a certain amount of time, but, like, now they're back. Now they're back on their good foot, right? Like the Jay-Z on Reasonable Doubt. Hop on your good foot. Like, that's what we are now. So we kind of just we ain't here to talk about the past. Like, we're beyond that. Like, I think that's what it is.
In third place with 89 points, cutting Braun Strowman off over and over despite his momentum. In second place with 95 points, in quotations, Sasha versus Bayley. And number one with 116 points, AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura, the feud as a staff, record label, and crew. Where was WrestleMania 34?
Okay, so I voted WrestleMania 34 for number one because it encapsulates a few of these things, right? Okay, so if you want to talk about the disappointment that was the Shinsuke versus AJ feud, well, the first match happened where, Rich?
At WrestleMania 34.
If you want to talk about us undercutting Braun Strowman, which finished third on this list?
Yes.
What did he do at WrestleMania, Rich?
He tag teamed with a 10-year-old child and made his own comeback.
Yeah, so that kind of set the agenda for the rest of the year. And also, if you want to, another one, you want to talk about Daniel Bryan in the beginning and how bad the beginning of his run was? Well, what did they do in his first match?
They jumped him.
They tried to do a stretcher job with him.
Yes. Yeah.
At WrestleMania. So it's
the sacrifices of the tag team divisions. Where did that begin? WrestleMania.
Yeah. And a 5-minute squash match, and also the Strowman shit we just previously talked about. All of these things lead back to WrestleMania. I don't know if you guys didn't remember or whatever else, but y'all just
y'all overruled. WrestleMania 34 is the most disappointing thing. Y'all overruled on that. Sorry, Jack. After that, one of my favorite awards that we give out, and this is this came across, I want to say a couple years ago, maybe last year, the Jeff Jarrett Finesser of the Year award. This is the wrestler that took advantage of their situation to get the most. And I can't even get to these guys yet without talking about what Jeff fucking Jarrett did this year. His damn self. This man tried to scam ticket packages to Wrestle Kingdom. This man came through.
Yes.
He was at All In.
Wait. And then as he got caught with someone saying it was a scam for how ridiculous the prices were, they immediately tried to lower the prices on Twitter in real time.
Yes. This man was able to finesse himself into a walkout and a check to show up at All In. He wasn't he trying to sue and get Anthem shut down because of the Impact thing?
Yes, because of the color scheme match GFWs.
Trying to get a check anywhere. He went into the fucking WWE Hall of Fame, James.
Yes, no, there's another one, right? There's another one. Triple Mania. Yes, he was a world champion there and got in a headlining position there. Jeff Jarrett had, look, if the award wasn't named after him, he would have won. I just wanted to go through his year just to let y'all know there is a reason the Jeff Jarrett Finesser of the Year award exists. So, with that being said, and you guys now know how this works, the 5 nominees. Chris Jericho. Of course, Chris Jericho ended up getting a belt with New Japan. He came out there and got all that money, and hooking up with the Elite. This man indoctrinated himself into that and became a hot name internationally when he decided that I need to get out of WWE at this point. He couldn't have done it any better. Better yet, he does Wrestle Kingdom 12 on January 4th. And then a few weeks later, he gets a check to show up to put Elias on the list for Raw 25.
Correct. And then also, he got $100,000 from Vince McMahon to be number 50 in the Greatest Royal Rumble. This dude was everywhere this year. So, and looking at it, he didn't even place.
Look, the cruise.
Yes.
When he has TNA talent. He has Impact talent. Sorry, Caleb. And he has Ring of Honor talent. And they're wrestling each other on his fucking cruise. It's amazing.
Yeah. Then Brock Lesnar. Good God. Just when you think he's about to leave, he signs another contract for millions of dollars and keeps the Universal title in his possession. And literally is playing the UFC and Vince McMahon against each other without any tangible evidence of him moving the needle at all.
Yeah, in WWE. And the craziest part about it is he has basically become Hogan from the WCW.
Yes.
We're he keeps leveraging his position.
I swear to God, we're in WCW right now, James, and no one sees it.
And it's inspired. No, we're not there as far as how bad it is. There are parallels though, right? But he's a top person.
Lots of them, by the way.
He keeps himself in a position to where he's still the top person because he's leveraging him, so he has leverage. he keeps getting himself in these positions where like the booker is like a mark for him.
Yes.
And the other people that are supposed to like succeed him or whatever else, they're getting the finish fucked on them. Like,
so is Roman Reigns just Sting now?
I don't know if Sting is Roman Reigns or if Roman Reigns is Sting. I don't know. I just don't. I will say this, like, I mean, like, we never had no issue with the crowd getting behind Sting. So maybe we won't have to go that far.
Yes.
But like, dude, this is just wild. It's wild.
Brock was such a finesser, he ended up on this list twice, James. The SummerSlam finish of Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, where WWE finessed the crowd and rushed off the air like thieves in the night to switch the title to try to not get this man booed. Holy shit. Vince McMahon getting billions of dollars from the TV networks despite the quality of the shows. And Daniel Bryan pitching a heel turn and getting the WWE title before Survivor Series. So, coming in last, the SummerSlam finish between Reigns and Lesnar with 35 points. I think that one should have did a lot better than it did. But in third place, Daniel Bryan pitching a heel turn and getting the WWE title before Survivor Series with 97 points. In second place, Brock Lesnar with 113 points. And your Jeff Jarrett Finesser of the Year, Vince McMahon with 161 points for getting billions of dollars from TV networks despite the quality of the shows and now the ratings.
Yeah. Like, Vince McMahon had this shit sewn up by, like, what was that, the spring when we found out about these?
Yes.
Early summer?
Yes.
Yeah, this is in the bag by, like, May, June, or whatever it was. So, yeah, it was going to be him.
A slim category, but a loaded category at the same time.
Yes.
Lots of finessing going on out here.
Yeah. Absolutely well-deserved number one. Congratulations, Vince.
Good grief. Yeah, man, so, up next, we've got the Vince Russo Who Booked This Shit Award. I almost want to change it to the Vince McMahon Who Booked This Shit Award, but James wouldn't let me. Yeah, man, so let's go through the nominees here. The Undertaker versus John Cena match at WrestleMania 34, along with the feud. Roman Reigns getting his head bust and losing at WrestleMania 34. Bobby Lashley's sisters. The initial Becky Lynch heel turn. And, that's not the story you were told. The AJ Styles pay-per-view match finishes, which I had it up to fucking here with as they were going on. Brock Lesnar returning at Hell in a Cell. Crown Jewel. And Daniel Bryan's first 8 months back. So, all the way at the bottom. 24 points. Becky Lynch's initial heel turn. Then, in third place with 74 points, Roman Reigns getting his head bust and losing at WrestleMania 34. In second place with 114 points, WWE Crown Jewel. And number one, this one was a shocker, but I remember writing a column about it at the time and talking about how bad it was and lighting them on fire and getting people to tell on themselves in comment sections. With 134 points, Bobby Lashley's sisters.
Okay, so if you look at the impact of all of these, what was the third one again? Sorry.
Roman Reigns getting his head bust and losing at WrestleMania 34.
And number two?
WWE Crown Jewel.
Okay. So as far as an impact or lasting impact deal, yes, the Bobby Lashley thing was probably the worst segment of the year.
Yes.
Or amongst them. Definitely amongst them. However, you built one fucking guy for 4 fucking years. And it's supposed to be the culmination of all this shit you've gone through and all the shit that you've been willing to gloss over and ignore and pretend it doesn't exist. And and cut off all these other fucking people that could have had a shot to get to that spot, but you're so dead set on having to be this one fucking guy or whatever else in spite of everybody else, and then it gets up to that point and then literally cut him off and say, no, we're not doing it. Like it's the dumbest shit ever. Like, and then also in the way that they did it too, where they, you know, like, you could have made an argument that if this had happened like 20 years ago, like that, like Roman Reigns retired, like just leaves. He leaves the company after this. He goes to he leaves, like if he's in WCW, he leaves and goes to WWF. If he's in WWF, he leaves and he goes to WCW, or he sits out his contract or waits out or whatever else, or asks for his release and gets it. Like it's the dumbest shit ever. Or one of the dumbest things that they've ever done from a main event standpoint, and also from a long-term standpoint. Like it benefited nobody. It's a match no one wanted to see. It's a match that got shat on. It's the most shat on match I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like, and we're talking about, we're comparing that to Bobby Lashley and Bobby Lashley. That was a fucking
one
preliminary feud.
Yeah.
It's the bottom of the card feud.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit? Like, I mean, it sucked. Don't get me wrong. I look, I've never seen it, but I know it sucked. But I've seen parts of it. It sucked. But no, absolutely not.
And it had 28 first place votes, so whatever it was about that segment, y'all really hated that shit. So maybe y'all read the column. So, yeah. But, yeah, Bobby Lashley's sisters, a really bad idea on all fronts. And Crown Jewel was just horrible. I didn't watch the show, but everything I heard about it, horrible.
The title match in Crown Jewel is because Brock Lesnar has the belt. Why? Because of what you did with Roman.
Yep. So, up next, the Gimmick of the Year. I think we need to name that award eventually, James.
Gimmick, the so-and-so Gimmick of the Year?
Yeah. Eventually we'll name that. So, our nominees.
The Mitch the Plant Gimmick of the Year.
My God.
The year on the list, or the
Chris Jericho light up, the Chris Jericho light up jacket Gimmick of the Year. Like, oh man,
The Rock Gimmick of the Year.
Wow,
because The Rock was a gimmick. I mean, like, yeah, just like pretend to be Deion Sanders or some shit similar to that.
Boy, so our nominees: Velveteen Dream's entire aura, Ciampa's heel persona, The Man Becky Lynch, Monday Night Rollins, Get These Hands from Braun Strowman, and the Undisputed Era's entire aura and just everything that has to do with their act. So, starting at the bottom with 22 points, Monday Night Rollins.
That's surprising because, like, it's actually as much of a gimmick as pretty much anything else on this list. Like, I mean, no knock against Tommaso or Velveteen's, you know, talking about like their presence or whatever, but their presence aren't in their characters. They also aren't necessarily gimmicks. Those are more characters and actual like gimmicks or like things to get themselves over, as opposed to like they're just being quote unquote them. Like The Man is a gimmick. Monday Night Rollins was a gimmick, and it was a damn good gimmick. Like, and if I remember correctly, like he does that, and then like either the next week or immediately goes into the gauntlet and then does that. Like,
he has a string of matches in the beginning of the year. Like it's every Monday is like,
yes,
yep.
And it was like, and he literally comes out there, cuts a backstage promo talking about Monday Night Rollins, and then goes out and just like kills it in the ring, and then people got behind him. He was as over as he had ever been as a babyface. Like I thought that was a major success. I think maybe people just like kind of lost track of it and lost sight of it over the year because it got buried and like completely. Like, not even mentioned since, like, the Shield got back together. Yep. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
I'm telling you, bro, the Shield is, like, the fucking, like that's just the antidote. Like, that shit will kill off everything. The what?
You said the antidote. The antidote means, like, it's supposed to save you from poisoning.
Yeah, my fault. What's the opposite? Yeah, the Shield is the poison that Vince McMahon was talking about. So, without further ado, in third place, 98 points, Velveteen Dream. Entire aura. Second place, with 105 points, Tommaso Ciampa's heel persona. And number one, who else? Winning every award that she's available for, damn near. Every solo award, The Man with 190 points, Becky Lynch. What else can be said about Becky that we haven't already said? She's the man. And the thing with the man thing, it's not for gender. It's this idea of being the top dog. That's what they're called in this business, is the man. And it is her. Looking at this voting.
For me, like, it's so smart from, like, the
and she had 54 first place votes, by the way.
Okay. So, like, for me, it's so smart from the perspective of, like, her calling herself the man is non-gender conforming, which is, like, which is a great thing. And then also, like, there's also people that aren't necessarily even going to, think about it on that level.
Mm-hmm.
And also be like, yeah, that's it. Yeah, she's the top dog. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I get that. I dig that. Like, so.
And then how many dudes want to? How many dudes want to walk around with a shirt that says "the man" on it? Like,
that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Like, you know how many times I thought about, like, how many more shirts they would sell if, like, how many more women's shirts they would sell for the men if, like, there was a shirt that was that could, I guess, make, like, be on, that could actually, like, make noise with everybody else or connect with everyone. And this one absolutely does. So, like, I can't wait to find out, like, how well her merch is selling, like, from this point forward.
Yep. So let's get into it. The WWE Network special match of the year. So this is non-main roster. So everything that you can find on the network that airs on, like, the ancillary programs like NXT, 205 Live, Mae Young Classic, takeovers. This is where UK. This was where everything would come from. So, number one nominee, Andrade Cien Almas versus Johnny Gargano. Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa won the NXT North American ladder match. Meiko Satomura versus Mercedes Martinez. Mustafa Ali versus Buddy Murphy, July 3rd, 205 Live. Mustache Mountain versus Undisputed Era 2. Ricochet versus Adam Cole. Ricochet versus Pete Dunne. Aleister Black versus Johnny Gargano. And Velveteen Dream versus Tommaso Ciampa. So, starting with our lowest match. Meiko Satomura versus Mercedes Martinez had 10 points. Both Ricochet matches had 17 and 15, respectively. And from there, let's go to our top three with 80 points. And this was, like, literally the top three, and everything else just fell off a cliff after that. So, the North American ladder match was number 3. Number 2, with 115 points, Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa, number 1. And number 1, with 133 points, Andrade Cien Almas versus Johnny Gargano. I'm calling that an upset.
Okay, the Almas match is a better wrestle match because there's more wrestling involved. Yeah. However, I think that the other match was far more. There was a cathartic level of him actually fucking winning one of these damn takeover matches for once,
and beating that guy.
Yeah, and also, like, Tommaso is a far more hated heel than Almas. And their story is so far beyond even the Almas stuff, because the Almas stuff was like, will he ever overcome Almas? And the answer was fucking no. And also it was almost like that was the answer to, like, okay, he's going to not win the title. All right, well, he's going to be in the main event in New Orleans, and he's going to win the main event. So, like, he's big. He's kind of bigger. It starts a point where he's bigger than the belt for much of the year. So. I disagree, but either one were the two. This is gonna be 1-2. I just disagree in the order.
I have the same. I have Gargano and Ciampa 1, Andrade Cien Almas and Gargano 2, in the North American ladder match 3. So I think this is a 3-horse race. So, WWE main.
It's real funny that, like, okay, so I think WWF has only ever had 4 or 5 5-star matches ever, right?
Well, a couple more. They have like 7 or 8, maybe 9.
Really?
Yeah.
No, but not including NXT.
Oh, okay, yeah. Take that back. They probably have like 6 or 7.
Because, like, there's 2 Brett matches, there's 2 Shawn matches, there's the and there's Cena and Punk. I don't think there's anything else that I'm missing that I can think of.
Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. They got it.
That's one of the Shawn matches.
Yeah, it's one of the casket matches. Bret Hart and Owen Hart. That's one of the Bret matches. Yeah, I'm not sure. Hit us up. Let us know.
Yeah, I feel like there's 5. Anyway, like there was 4 in NXT this year, and like the 4th one, like even like where did Undisputed versus British versus Mustache Mountain 2, where did it end up ranking?
It was tied for 5th, and that had 30 points, and that tied with Mustafa Ali and Buddy Murphy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would have thought that would have got some more love. Maybe people didn't see it.
Yeah.
So WWE main roster match of the year: Seth Rollins versus The Miz from Backlash 2018. The Shield versus Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler. The 2018 Men's Royal Rumble. AJ Styles and Samoa Joe 3 at WWE Super Showdown. Asuka versus Charlotte, WrestleMania 34. Becky Lynch versus Charlotte at Evolution. Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar at Survivor Series. AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan at TLC. And Becky versus Charlotte versus Asuka at TLC. So, let's get to it. Starting at the bottom, AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe with a whopping 8 points. Third, with 81 points, AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan.
Uh-oh.
Second.
Uh-oh.
What? Yeah.
I think I know what's about to happen.
Yep. You know what's about to happen.
Okay.
Second place, Becky Lynch versus Charlotte versus Asuka.
Yes!
With 104 points.
Yes!
And number 1, with 121 points, Becky Lynch versus Charlotte at Evolution.
Yes! Do you remember when Mark Sanchez, sorry ass, found out that he got that call from the Jets knowing he's about to get slid up to draft and get picked at 5th when he thought he was going to like maybe fall outside the top 10, and he's on the, you can see him on the camera, he's like, yes, like some Jerry Maguire shit. That's how I am at right now. Yes. This is my match of the year. I love this match. This was one of my favorite matches of the last 7 years in WWE. Like, I remember watching this match at the end of it, and I'm saying to myself, like, this might be my favorite match, like, of the last 2 years, like, at least since, like, Cena and AJ at Royal Rumble 2016 or 17. And, like, it had been so long in WWE before we got a match, like, to that level that I thought, like, maybe we're just never going to get to that point. Maybe that's just for NXT. I don't know. And then that happened, and I was just so happy. And like I remember just like me, you were worried that like Charlotte's going the belt back or whatever else, and then like it wasn't no sneak job, or she wasn't going, like, she literally picked her up off of that damn top turnbuckle and powerbombed her ass to hell through that table. We were like, you just got beat. You didn't get, like, the feud's over. You lost. You never won.
Knocked out.
Lost is over. You've been beaten. Like, the ace has been literally, like, we talking about, like, the ace has been dethroned. Like, I'm the captain now. I'm the ace now.
Yes.
Like, look at me. Do you see? Look at my eyes. I'm the realest. She was right.
So
I'm so happy. I'm so happy this won. I didn't know I could trust you motherfuckers, but apparently I could.
So, notable things, Shield and McIntyre and Ziggler with 15 points. Rollins and Miz, which I held up for a long time, only ended up with 26 points.
I think that might be being like the first great match of the year on the main roster. I think that's what happened.
Men's Royal Rumble 47. Daniel Bryan and Brock Lesnar 44. Yeah, but match of the year, I can't argue with it. I had, Bryan and Styles at number 1, Becky and Charlotte number 2, but no real argument there for me. I think I gave them the same rating, so.
What was my ranking on? I think I had the top 3 just in different order.
So you had them, Bryan and Styles at number 2, and then the 3-way at number 3.
Yeah, yeah.
So, the WWE Pay-Per-View of the Year is our next category. Nominees: Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, Evolution, Survivor Series, TLC, and Hell in a Cell. So
you remember last year when we had to like literally struggle to come up with a number of pay-per-views that actually meet the status to be worthy of being voted on? This year was a lot different, especially the back half of the year.
Back half of the year came through.
Yeah. Thank God it did. Because the first, no. Like, it was Royal Rumble and a whole bunch of nothing.
So, starting at the bottom with 16 points, Hell in a Cell. Fuck that show, James. And all of our placers are well into 100 points. So, in third place with 123 points, TLC. In second place with 126 points, the Royal Rumble. And number one with 162 points, Evolution.
Yes! Yes, God damn it! Yes! Yes!
So James is living up to his gimmick right here. So
Screw you, talking about me on a gimmick. Look, man. You look at the 1 year for this whole fucking promotion. It was the turning point. Like, look, as far as coming up with giving you a show where you were happy, like nothing was bad on the card. You were happy and pleasant. You weren't beating down with heat throughout the card. The only people that were heels that won, they won for a specific reason. And then you had the match of the year, apparently, and you had a really good main event. And then at the end, and we talked about this on the second half review of pay-per-views, like when Ronda won and walked out and ran up to the entrance with all of the the history of the women's like then, now, forever and all that talk, and see them all on the ramp, and you see Sasha and Becky and Charlotte and Lita and Trish and Alundra Blaze and Stephanie up there, and they're all just like happy. Like, it was like that was like one of the best feel good moments of the year in a promotion that like feel good moments were few and far between. I was happy. Like, it was very similar. It was almost like after Brooklyn won, when the Four Horsemen all were in the ring after Bayley won, times whatever. It was just so happy to see all that. And, everything else that got nominated happened after. It was a turning point. It was like, we're going to book for our audience because we actually give a fuck what our audience wants and likes. And, like, they're doing more of that since that part. So, like, on the big cards, that's what they're doing at least. Like, we still gotta fix Raw. We still got a couple things here and there with SmackDown, but, like, if there's any reason to have if there's actually really a turning point, and we're gonna look back at like when it turned around, it's gonna be them looking at like Evolution, and being like, oh shit, people actually like when we give them things they give a fuck about and like enjoy. Like, so yes, I'm happy that Evolution won. Do I think it actually holds up as a card to TLC? Probably not. But like, as far as like, when I go back and look back years from now, I'm gonna remember Evolution before I remember TLC even.
Yeah, it was obviously the first ever women's show. It was a show that created so much goodwill, which didn't have a lot of goodwill going into it, because obviously there was the Ronda Nikki thing that was decried for a bunch of different reasons. Sasha Banks not in a prominent position.
Yes, the bad placement and positioning for Sasha, absolutely, and Bayley. Yep.
And but they overcame that. And they put together a card that was just, it felt so fun. It felt like the company, it didn't even feel like WWE. Like, like that's how good it was. Like,
definitely not the main roster. It definitely felt more like a takeover.
Yeah. So congratulations to all the women on the Evolution show who made that the pay-per-view of the year.
Fire the men.
Fire the men. So after that, we've got the NXT TakeOver of the year. So this one, it's very interesting here because I don't know. I think people forgot about one of these shows, but maybe it's just something that had to come in last. And maybe it's the function of the title match on that show. So let's get to it. Nominees: NXT TakeOver New Orleans, NXT TakeOver Chicago, NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, NXT War Games and NXT Philadelphia. So
now, if this comes out wonky, I'm going to blame you for the replacement on the thing because you didn't do it in a chronological order. You put the first pay-per-view last. So let's see how this goes.
So, with 55 points, the one at the bottom was NXT TakeOver Chicago. So, after that, our third place, NXT TakeOver Brooklyn with 89 points. Second place, with 119, NXT TakeOver War Games. And number one, NXT TakeOver New Orleans with 162 points, which is the greatest card in the history of this promotion.
Yeah. At least they got that part right. Now, War Games over Philadelphia?
Yes, unquestionably.
Because okay, all right. So you had the ALP match with the shenanigans with Roddy Strong joining Undisputed, right? That was a great match as it was happening.
No, you're mixing stuff. Like, I am? Yeah, because Roger Strong didn't join to New Orleans.
That happened at New Orleans. I'm sorry, you're right. I'm wrong on that. Okay, so what's the undercard on that?
Phillies
isn't that Adam Cole versus Alistair?
Yes, and it's not on the level like of War Games. Like, so you got a War Games match, you have the Velveteen Dream Tommaso Ciampa match, and then you have Gargano and Alistair. Which those three matches alone,
and you have the sprint for the opener for the women's match. I understand that, like it's 4 matches. I get it. I mean, and if you want to throw out the fact they did the Flash knockout thing with Riddle, fine. So you don't even have to really count that, but it popped the crowd. It was huge, so that I count that as a plus. Like, granted, there is literally every single match on that card I would consider great, but one match went 47 minutes, and it was not a 5-star classic. It had points where it drug. I wouldn't call it a bad. I wouldn't call it anything. I would call it a great match, but it still went 45 minutes, and you had 2 matches that immediately killed it as far as his performance in front of it. And like, if you're going to do that, you should have swapped both of them out.
No. So Velveteen Dream and Cassius Ohno was not good. Ember Moon and Shayna Baszler wasn't on the level. And Cole and Black, I would say that and the War Games are like you're probably looking at a 4.25 versus a 4. And then, your tag team match isn't like one of those Mustache Mountain Undisputed Era matches. It was the Undisputed Era versus Authors of Pain.
Okay.
Like, I think this one had one really great match, one good match, and then the other 3 was just, all right.
Okay.
But they got it right up top. NXT TakeOver New Orleans, probably the greatest card in the history of this promotion. With that match on top, the title match between Andrade Cien Almas and Aleister Black, NXT North American ladder match, which kind of redefined what the 6-man genre should look like at this point. Just so planned out, so like athletic and then dangerous at the same time.
And everybody had a purpose. Yep. And everybody had a chance to have a spotlight in the match.
Yep, and you get the big angle with Roger Strong joining Undisputed Era, just setting the tone for this year and absolutely kicking the shit out of WrestleMania 34. So I can't put over NXT TakeOver New Orleans enough. So, and Brooklyn also was great too. So,
yeah.
So our next award.
Wait. What card had the Brooklyn had the Velveteen? What? Okay. What? Where was it? I'm guessing Chicago is where they had the Lars match, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
They knew damn well better than to roll into Brooklyn with Lars Sullivan challenging for the damn title.
And then Brooklyn had the EC3 match.
Brooklyn had the EC3 and Velveteen Dream.
Yeah. Okay.
So from there, like, Brooklyn had the Undisputed Era, Mustache Mountain, Ricochet, Adam Cole, Kairi Sane and Shayna Baszler, and then the last man standing, Gargano and Ciampa. So, interesting.
So basically what happened is, like, War Games had 0 holes, Brooklyn had 0 holes, but Brooklyn had 5 matches, and War Games really only had 4.
So, yeah. The next award, the TV Performer of the Year. So this is a little different from Pay-Per-View Performer of the Year. Obviously, on television, you're probably not going to get to go as long, but in some cases you do, but it's not a regular thing. So our nominees Daniel Bryan, Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, Mustafa Ali, Pete Dunne, AJ Styles, Johnny Gargano, and Roman Reigns. So I wanted to try to get Roman on there somewhere, and I thought this was the category that he fit best in because, if you just look at the year that he had on TV, he was great against Samoa on TV. Miz, Finn Balor, he was in a gauntlet match.
Yep.
Just a lot of cool little moments for him there. Cool little. So we're gonna start at the bottom with 9 points. Finn Balor. So I thought they kind of disrespected Finn there because everyone else ended up with points. Roman Reigns ended up with 15, so it wasn't like he got much more. But we had a tie for the third place vote here between Johnny Gargano and AJ Styles with 84 points each. And it's like they both ended up with the same amount of first place votes. AJ Styles got 1 more second place vote, and Gargano got 3 more third place votes. That is about as close as it gets on that. So I'm gonna just declare that a tie with those guys.
Okay.
At 3. Because I tried to run an informal poll on our social suplex thing, but of course, these guys couldn't figure out how to do it. Started adding people on. I was like, bro, this wasn't for you to add to. I have retaken control. And
What do you? Okay, so let's do this. What do you vote, or what was your order for it?
Okay, so my order for TV Performer of the Year: number 1, Pete Dunne; number 2, Seth Rollins; number 3, AJ Styles.
Okay, and what did I have?
You had, let's see. You had number 1, Pete Dunne; number 2, Johnny Gargano; number 3, Seth Rollins.
Yeah, man, that's tough.
Yeah, that's tough. That's the closest voting on here. So, number 2, second place, with 89 points. Caleb is gonna like this a whole lot. Mustafa Ali. So Mustafa Ali well represented the TV Performer of the Year category. And number 1, we get on him a lot. We've gotten on him a lot lately in these past couple weeks, James. But with 106 points, Seth Rollins. People didn't forget about Monday Night Rollins.
Yeah, which also is like, if you didn't forget about him, maybe you should vote more for him for Gimmick of the Year because, but
or Wrestler of the Year or something. Yeah.
Are you surprised at how they sandbagged? People just didn't vote for Dunne because I feel like Dunne got fucked.
I feel like Dunne got really fucked. So he finished in. Okay, so if we got that tie for third, he had the next amount. He had 56 points. So yeah, I think Pete Dunne got fucked here, big time.
Mike, did I not vote for Pete Dunne?
You voted for Pete Dunne. I voted for Pete Dunne first.
Yeah,
so did you. If we contrast it with our Shawn Michaels In-Ring Performer of the Year award, Seth Rollins had 58 points and Pete Dunne had 56. So I wonder what the variance is there.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, so where are you watching Pete Dunne other than on fucking TV?
Yeah. So I don't know, man. We're gonna have to we're gonna have a conversation about these, the trends that I noticed in there. We're, like I said, we're a little crunched for time today, but we're trying to get through these. But yeah, the TV Performer of the Year, Seth Rollins. Any surprise there?
I mean, outside of the fact that Dunne didn't win, or no, not really. Seth's deserving. Seth killed it in the first half of the year. Honestly, that's his biggest claim to fame for this year. And in a year on the main roster where there were less than a handful of people that had their best years, that have had more than a few years on the main roster, or more than a couple years on the main roster. His biggest claim to fame was the matches. So yeah, I definitely see why people felt that way. But I feel like turn on NXT and NXT UK, please.
Yeah, and you'll see Pete Dunne. So, Yeah, man. The next award, the Die Rocky Die Failure of the Year Award, Worst Long-Term Direction. Our nominees: the Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns saga, Asuka's streak goes up in smoke and subsequent use, the Old Timers won't/can't quit, Carmella and Alexa Bliss strangle their title reigns strangle the women's divisions, continued use of Roman Reigns' illness for heat and storylines, and pushing Baron Corbin as a top act on Monday Night Raw, creating free-falling ratings. Starting at the bottom, continued use of Roman Reigns' illness for heat and storylines with only 30 points. With 31 points, Carmella and Alexa Bliss's title reign strangled the women's division. So either people didn't agree, did y'all like the matches? I know I didn't. But, continued use of Roman Reigns' illness in the heat storyline, I guess that didn't register with a lot of folks. Maybe it didn't bother them. Or they didn't see it as a failure. But yeah, let's get to our voting. With 90 points, Asuka's streak goes up in smoke and subsequent use for our third place. Second place, the Old Timers won't/can't quit with 117 points. And with 139 points, the Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns saga wins. This feud, they did everything that you need to do to fuck a feud up. They took it past its expiration date. They did 1 million rematches, unsatisfying winners, unsatisfying matches, unsatisfying conclusions. The height of unreality in all of them. Them flat out trying to insult you as a viewer watching this shit.
And
the deception.
They gave the person that they paid the most amount of money to per appearance. They try to give him go away heat.
I'll never understand it.
They try to give him a go away heat to eventually have him win. That's stupid. That makes no sense. What?
It's awful on every single level. And, even I don't want to get into revealing people's brackets, but a lot of people voted for this. It had the most first place votes. Even from big Roman Reigns supporters were coming out here and saying this thing was a fail. This thing was a detriment.
Because they killed the guy that was supposed to fucking win the feud, Rich. Because they wanted to be fucking cute.
Yeah. This was bad. This was all-time die, Rocky die, failure on 1 million levels. They've made this belt look worthless. They've made
it made me stop watching. It made me stop watching the product for 4 months.
Yeah, and the obsession with this singular matchup, handicapped not only this year but last year when they were building up to this year. Everything was coming back to this the entire time. It fucked Braun Strowman in several ways. It fucked Seth Rollins out of being able to climb the mountain. It fucked
Samoa Joe.
It fucked Samoa Joe. It fucked whoever got close to this. It was like radioactive essentially.
Like Samoa Joe versus Brock Lesnar. That feud actually boosts the TV ratings.
Yeah.
And then they beat him 1-5.
Yeah. This is one of the more self-destructive feuds I can think of in wrestling history. When you talk about what Sting versus the NWO was on the bad side of it, when you talk about them just botching the invasion angle, when you think about just all-time letdowns like Shawn Michaels and Triple H, after their 2002 SummerSlam stuff, everything else can pretty much go to hell. But even this is on a level below that because this was bad in the ring, it was bad in the storylines, and it was bad for the fans, it was bad for the other wrestlers. It sucked on every level.
Yeah. I have nothing else to add.
And from something that sucked to our top moment of the year. So be merry, be happy, be cheery. Our single best moment of the year. Our nominees: Daniel Bryan unretires. Shinsuke Nakamura wins the Royal Rumble. Becky jumps Charlotte after the SummerSlam match. The Shield comes for Braun Strowman. Shawn Michaels in The Undertaker's promo from September 3rd. Becky Lynch invading Raw. And the Seth Rollins performance in the Gauntlet match. And Ronda Rousey armbars Stephanie McMahon at WrestleMania 34. Starting at the bottom, Shawn Michaels in The Undertaker's promo from 9-3, where essentially it's given away that Shawn Michaels is about to come out of retirement, and The Undertaker challenges him, puts him on the spot. In third, with 62 points, Shinsuke Nakamura wins the Royal Rumble. And this actually came down. This was actually our closest one. For the battle of the 1 and 2.
I have an idea of what what 1 and 2 is.
So with 1 and 2, with 135 points, and this came down to the end of the end. With 135 points, Daniel Bryan unretires as our second place.
That went number 2?
Went number 2.
Wow.
And
wow.
With 137 points, Becky Lynch invades Monday Night Raw.
Wow.
Now, looking at the voting, to examine it closer, Daniel Bryan received 31 first place votes. Becky Lynch received 27 first place votes. The second place voting, Becky got 23, Daniel Bryan got 16. And they split on third place votes.
Gotcha. So basically what happened is a bunch of people fucked Daniel Bryan's comeback, basically.
Yes.
Wow. All right. Well, okay. Have you looked to see who voted for who left him off the ballot?
I will have to take a look at that.
Okay. I wonder if there's a correlation between FDSers.
Yeah.
Or pro-Romanites.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy. Well, you know, is out of Daniel Bryan and Becky Lynch. Those are the two they hate. So I don't know. Maybe they left them both off.
Maybe, I don't know. But I think the thing is that it's more of a I'm never gonna be backing into this Daniel Bryan shit because you quote unquote ruined this guy's career for this skinny wimp. I think a lot of that is at play.
So
it's like, look, man, like you heard that promo.
Yeah.
Like,
don't ignore it.
Yeah. Let's not pretend here, okay?
Yeah. So James, I had Daniel Bryan at number 1, Becky at 2. Becky jumped Charlotte at number 3. So
I think I had 1 and 2 the same way you did. What was my number 3?
So you had number 3 was Ronda Rousey armbar Stephanie at WrestleMania 34.
That's right.
So
that was the main event of WrestleMania. So, you know.
I'm going to take a look at that. You brought up an interesting point on that, so I'm going to go through these votes and look at that.
You already see some, don't you? See?
It's a perfectly logical theory. Creative success of the year.
Okay.
So, this right here, we have 5 nominees. The WrestleMania Mixed Tag Match, the 2018 Men's Royal Rumble Match, NXT has its greatest year ever, Becky Lynch becoming the man following an ill-fated heel turn, in WWE Evolution. Just putting all these winners in high-placing events against each other. So, starting at the bottom with 40 points, the 2018 Men's Royal Rumble Match. Third place, with 92 points, WWE Evolution. Second place with 133 points, NXT has its greatest year ever. And number 1, just like everything else, Becky Lynch becoming the man following ill-fated heel turn. She will not lose. She is the Kenny Omega of this. Like, the way Kenny Omega dominated the awards on Keeping It Strong style, Becky Lynch is dominating the awards here on One Nation Radio. This is unprecedented.
Okay. Yeah, man. What was my voting on it? I can't remember.
So, your voting was number 1, the WrestleMania mixed tag match. Number 2, Becky Lynch becoming the man following the ill-fated heel turn. Number 3, NXT has its greatest year ever.
Okay. Yeah, I think the reason why I end up going with the mixed tag match is like now that Roman is down and Cena is gone, like he is literally, like Ronda is literally our top star, and you can talk that noise about she's not a draw and da 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 da. It's like, you know how bad the rating would be if she wasn't around. Like, do you know how bad the ratings would crater even more if she wasn't around, like the Boy Raw? Because look, ain't nobody sticking around for fucking Corbin. No, people would literally, it would literally be the Yachty meme of like, nope, turn off the TV.
So let's see. Our final award, James. You already know what it is. And this was perhaps the single most loaded category. It didn't reflect it in the voting. There was a clear number 1. But just looking at everything, this was a year filled with controversies in and out of the ring. And of course, what am I talking about? The IWC Award, which kind of started as a joke. Like, yeah, we're gonna like talk shit about fans on the internet for a minute, what everyone's bitching about the most. But a lot of this now is kind of morphed into, hey, these are legitimate issues. And hey, these are controversies that people, are getting, that actually have like legitimacy. So, let's talk about it. The nominees: WWE dealing with Saudi Arabia, WWE Backlash, and the Backlash to Backlash, which broke the Wrestling Observer newsletter mail site, or website, excuse me.
Yeah, F4W was down for days.
Yep. Dave Meltzer and Peyton Royce when he was making comments about her appearance. The Fabulous Moolah Battle Royal. Turning popular wrestlers heel on chosen ones. Which I don't know if people understood based on the voting, but I feel like should have done way better because a lot of the outrage came from that this year.
Becky turns heel on Charlotte. Strowman has to turn heel on Roman.
Shinsuke Nakamura has to turn on AJ.
Yeah, they had a bunch of that this year. Oh, Dean Ambrose turns on Seth Rollins.
Daniel Bryan turns on AJ Styles. I don't know if AJ is necessarily a chosen one, but Daniel Bryan has to turn heel. It more is like popular wrestlers turning heel, and there being like an outcry, like, you fucked up with these baby faces. These are actually the people we want to cheer for.
Yes, turning people heel for the fact of getting heat. No other reason other than to get heat. So, like, even though the hardest thing in the entire in all of wrestling is to get people that are likable that you want to cheer for, and you get them and you want to turn them heel because you guys are bad people.
So the Bellas and Divas are back. So I kind of lumped that in together. So, the controversy that the Bellas brought, and also the Diva era making a return and then like getting kicked to the wayside. Thankfully, about midway through the year. Nia Jax injuring Becky Lynch. Hulk Hogan returns. The continued rejection and hijacking of Roman Reigns' pay-per-view matches. James, I think we said we were going to rename this award if he was nominated for something else or if he won it again, to the Roman Reigns IWC Award.
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm assuming he didn't win it this year, which is like, congratulations, you managed to outdo yourselves in a negative.
Let's keep listening. And Monday Night Raw breaking the record low ratings. When I wrote this award, it was 4 times. It ended up becoming 6.
Yep, absolutely. I remember telling you, like, bro, like, it's going to get to at least 5, maybe even 6.
So, at the bottom, turning popular wrestlers heel on chosen ones. I can chalk that up as maybe you guys didn't understand what I was talking about on that. But the next one up from that would have been the Bellas and Divas are back. So either, that wasn't a thing. I don't know if people put 2 and 2 together, but, it was a fucking fire on the internet during that Brie Bella shit. It was a fire during Nikki Bella, like in Rousey and all that. And then, as bad as Alexa and Carmella were, we were talking about that.
Yep.
I don't know, man. So I'm going to read off all these. So all these kind of deserve to be read. So 11 points, turning popular wrestlers heel on chosen ones. 17 points, WWE Backlash. 18 points, Dave Meltzer and Peyton Royce. 27 points, record low ratings. 43 points, the Fabulous Moolah Battle Royal. 37 points, Hulk Hogan returns. And for our top 3, with 51 points, the continued rejection and hijacking of Roman Reigns' pay-per-view matches. Second place with 80 points, Nia Jax injures Becky Lynch. And number 1 with 187 points, the IWC Award, WWE dealing with Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, that is number 1.
That is number 1. It had 55 first place votes. It was horrible on every level. Before you get to the fact they can't bring their women's performers with them. You're talking about a dead journalist now. You're talking about serious human rights issues. You're talking about propaganda. You're talking about the administration, the Trump administration being tied in with this. You're talking about Hulk Hogan being invited to come back to these shows. You're talking about all the old timers being involved with Saudi Arabia and them passing this off as this progressive thing.
Hold on. You also have basically like old fucking enforcers and lieutenants going on to media outlets and then like lying through their teeth about like how they're going to actually change. They're going to change the fucking government, or they're going to change like the society there as outsiders. Get the fuck out of here.
As fucking pro wrestling, like I don't. No, man. It was about a check in the beginning. It was about a check the second time, and it's gonna continue to be about a check for the next 9 years. This shit might win the next 9 One Nation Radio Awards if there's 9 of them. Like, this is bad. This is terrible. This is just disgusting on every level. Roman Reigns' continued hijacking, that's something we can't ignore. From WrestleMania to Backlash to Money in the Bank. And he got some of it at Extreme Rules, a little bit at SummerSlam, but it didn't last long enough to really get going. But they fucked him so bad at WrestleMania, people were tired of him, done with him. Get the fuck off the TV. And they insisted on main eventing him over the WWE Championship. They insisted on win-dating him to just this level that they clearly don't want to put him at, but they do. But just was really confusing for a lot of fans. And eventually they just took it out on, him and his matches on pay-per-view, which were laid out horribly, put in chin locks forever for people that would hope that he would eventually get the fans on his side. And then the Roman Reigns versus Jinder Mahal fiasco was just the low point of, like, it was low at WrestleMania 34, James. And I know you didn't see the Roman Reigns Jinder Mahal match, but
yeah, why would I ever do such a thing?
This was like the culmination, like, of what got kicked open. WrestleMania 34 was way more hijacked and larger on a grander scale. But if we're just looking at an isolated incident, Roman Reigns and Jinder Mahal and like what it represented to people, that was getting hijacked no matter what. And Nia Jax injuring Becky Lynch, it changed, Becky Lynch's short-term course, possibly her long-term course. And then also that brought into the discussions about Nia's, recklessness in the ring. Obviously her being, related to The Rock and everything like that. And Becky Lynch just having being the supernova that she was, and it was just, ripped away from us for a minute. And a lot of people were on Nia Jax's head about that. But those pale in comparison to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, and also when you throw in, the Divas Are Back thing, you also, have to account for, the fact that, Brie Bella knocked someone out cold.
Yeah. This company tried to pass off Fabulous Moolah Like that shit was gonna slide.
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan, they brought that rich motherfucker back. And just like
I think I ended up putting Hogan second on mine. I don't really remember.
You did. Yeah, just bad all the way around, like with these things. And like the IWC award usually is supposed to be like kind of like, you know, the award has changed over time, and I don't know if it ever can go back now. So, yeah, those were the 2018 One Nation Radio Awards. James, any surprises here?
Not really. Hey, man, it's kind of a madhouse right here. Give me 1 second, all right?
All right. I will continue going here. So, as far as 2018, this was like the best of the year. We, covered it from start to finish. There was a lot to dislike about the year, but there were spots. If you were looking for excellence this year, it was to be found. You did have to search for it. You had to go to the network. You had to look at 205 Live. You had to look at NXT, and you caught some of it at the second half of the year on the main roster when they pulled their heads out of their asses. But you're looking at like a company that's creating more controversy than ever, like with the IWC award and different things like that. But this was the year of Becky Lynch. Every award pretty much that she was tied to, she was winning. She was just the best. Like, and it's hard to continue to say how excellent she was if you don't understand this, if you are living in any type of denial, if you are mad at Becky Lynch because she was embraced in an organic way like your favorite wrestler never was. Put your head up your ass, see if it fits, like Buddy said in Scarface, and open your eyes.
Like, my thing is, I don't really care if it's organic or manufactured or whatever. My thing is, like, are you doing good work? Yes, she is. She's doing great work. So check that box. Is the crowd reacting to her the way that that now the direction they give her, like where they want to go with her? The answer is emphatically yes. So for me, like, 2 thumbs up. Like, you're doing great work, and the great work is paying off apparently. So like, that's all I want. That's all I want out of my wrestling is like the shit that makes sense. I don't want people like Baron Corbin to go out there and be thoroughly mediocre or bad every fucking week, and then like keep getting opportunity after opportunity to go out there and take an hour of a 3-hour Raw. Fuck out of here with that. So this needs to be the new program. Like, you do good work, the crowd reacts to it. You try to manipulate things to try to boost that flame, and then it keeps going. Right. Congratulations. That's how wrestling has always worked until recently.
Yep, and that's pretty much going to wrap the show up. But, James, thank you for another year of doing One Nation Radio here with me, and thank all of you guys that have listened to the show and supported it in ways like you never have before. And also, the Social Suplex Podcast Network has continued to grow. Added a few new shows this year. Still coming up with great ideas to keep expanding this thing, and I'm just glad you guys support us every week on these downloads. Like, when I refresh the page, it's like, oh snap, more people checking us out. So hopefully you enjoyed our coverage all year. Hopefully you also enjoyed this award show. If you voted, thank you for your votes. If you did not vote, not go fuck yourself, but yeah, if you did not vote, we'll catch you next year. Hopefully you will. And we also joined Lords of Pain Radio this year, and that was an experience in itself, and we're thankful to be able to expand our audience not only there, but also on the Social Suplex Podcast Network, and just appreciate everyone supporting us. That's pretty much going to wrap it up for me for 2018. James, you got anything you want to add about this year?
The year ended on a strong note, and I look forward to, or at least on the big shows. So I at least look forward to what they have for the big shows, and I also enjoy the fact that there's less heat on these TV shows. So hopefully they keep that up as well. But there need to be some fundamental changes now that Roman is gone, and Cena seems to literally be we're done with him. Like, we need to try to figure out where we are as far as from a roster positioning standpoint going forward. And I hope like they come up with some good answers.
Yeah. Anyway, that's going to wrap the show up. Thank you guys for listening to the 2018 One Nation Radio Awards. We will see you next year. Peace.
Later.